Hello there and welcome to this video tutorial. Once again, I'm here to deliver a tutorial on the floodplain and natural levees. So the first thing, what is a floodplain and how is it associated with the natural levees? So a floodplain is basically the area which is adjacent to a river's channel. It is of course a plain, meaning that it's a flat area. It is just next to the river's channel, and it is on this plain where the flood water flows when the river floods. So we are saying that the plain which is adjacent to the river's channel, and it is this plain over which the river will flow when it floods. Floodplains, of course, are found in the old stage of rivers, and they are formed as a result of migration of meanders downstream. So here I want to demonstrate using a diagram the meaning of the flood plain and how it is associated the river flow and the levees. I'm trying to sketch a 3D diagram here to show a number of things. One, I need to show the river channel, the flood plain, and of course the sides of the flood plain, which are formed when the interlocking spurs are reduced into bluffs. Remember, the flood plain will be formed when we have the migration of the meanders downstream, leading to deposition of alluvium. The floodplains are filled with alluvial deposits, and that's why they're actually very fertile. As I speak about that, I'm still trying to sketch a 3D diagram of a river's channel, which is flowing within the flood plain. So as you can see there, we have the slopes on the far end, which are cliff-like. Then we have the plain, which is adjacent to the river's channel. So let's see in this case which one is the flood plain. This one is the river and it is flowing within the river's channel. Then if the river floods, the water will burst outwards, and it is in this region where the flood water is moving to. It is this area which we refer to as the flood plain, whereby after flooding, we have the water flowing there. So this is the flood plain, and you can see very clearly that the water flows there. So the sharp edges, the cliff-like edges, are known as the bluffs. A bluff is also known as a truncated spur because it is a spur which has been reduced in size. So that is the demonstration of the floodplain. Let's see a sample image. Here you can see the river which is flowing. Then you can see the river banks, and at the same time you can see the flood plain. In case this river floods, the water will flow into the flood plain shown there. And I said because it's full of alluvial deposits, a lot of farming takes place there. Moving forward, what are natural levees? Because we said we need to connect these with the flood plain. And we are saying that these are usually raised embankments or simply some natural barriers. And where do we find them? They are usually found along the river banks, and they appear to raise the river banks a bit higher. So when they are raising the river bank, we shall see that they are formed by river flooding. When river flooding takes place, we have deposition, and this deposition of the sediments, they lead to raising of the river banks. And these river banks, when they are raised, that's when they form the natural levees. Let's see in another simple 3D demonstration how do we form these features we are calling the natural levees. Yes, I'm still trying to sketch the 3D diagram again to demonstrate the point in which we have the natural levees and how they are related with the flood plain. So let's have a look here. Here again, now we are used to the place where we have the river and of course the bluffs, the positioning of the flood plain, just like we have seen in the previous image. And now here we want to show within the floodplain and at the edges of the riverbank where we have these natural levees form. So these are 3D diagram which I'm actually just sketching, but the good thing is showing the idea. The whole idea is visible, and you can see that we have a river channel and we have the flood plain. So what's next? This is the direction of flow of the river, and we are saying that as this river flows, sometimes flooding will take place, and the flood waters will flow into this flood plain. That's where it gets its name from, of course, and it is usually formed through deposition. So in case the river butts its banks, then it will deposit materials. But these materials which are deposited, they're usually deposited in a sorted manner. Sorted means that once the river floods, it will deposit the large and heavy boulders first. You see this one I'm showing here? These are the large materials which cannot be carried further by the flood waters. Then it is followed by the medium-sized materials, and eventually we have the very fine alluvium, which is taken further away from the river channel into the flood plain. So what does this tell us? Basically, it means that because the large materials are deposited first, we are going to see an accumulation of large boulders just next to the river and along the river bank, but the fine materials are taken further away from the river's channel. For this reason, the area which is next to the river's channel and along the river bank will be raised, and it is forming a ridge of deposits which is raised above the level of the floodplain and above the level of the river water. For this reason, this section which appears to be raised is the one which we are calling the flood plain. Actually, if the flooding takes place, then the levees uh, will actually uh, block the waters from flowing back. So this is what we call the natural levees. As you can see in this image, those sections of the river are raised and they are forming the natural levees. We are calling them natural because they can also be artificial and they can be formed when they can be constructed to prevent flooding, especially where people live near the flood plain, all on the flood plain. That is it. Thank you for watching.